Hello everyone and welcome to an exciting game from round 7 of this year's Superbet Chess Classic. It is Anish Giri versus classical world champion Ding Liren, who already lost one game to Alireza Firuza. If you've seen it, it's been a really tough tournament for him. So let's see what happened in this one. And yeah, the game is so complicated to follow, to watch, and to analyze that I can only imagine how difficult it was to actually play this. So I apologize if there will be maybe a few lines more than I would usually show, but it's such a complicated game, I absolutely must show them. And there is one particular line that basically ends the game on the spot that I will not show. I will only show it after we check out the entire game, because it's a 20-something moves line that's a forced win, so I will show that as well, but only at the end of the video if you guys will be interested. So let's check it out. Anish has the white pieces and he opens with pawn to e4 as he usually does. We have pawn to e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. He goes for the Italian game. We have bishop to c5. Nope, we don't. We have knight to f6, the two knights defense, and now pawn to d3, going for the modern bishop's opening, and bishop to c5, the Giuoco Pianissimo. We have bishop to g5, and now pawn to h6, attacking the bishop, bishop to h4, and pawn to d6. So this has all been played before, nothing new here. Interestingly, Anish himself played this position with the black pieces. He had it against Ivan Radić when he played in the Grand Chess Tour in Zagreb in 2019, and Anish lost this with the black pieces. So as he's a great theoretician, he also has spent time actually playing this position, only with reversed colors. So c3, we have pawn to a5, stopping b4, of course, and now knight b to d2. We have bishop back to a7, reaching the position that he had against Radić in Zagreb in 2019, but Radić went a3 here with the white pieces. Anish goes pawn to a4, and it is now, as of move 9, that we have a completely new game. That's not really true. There are some two very low-level games I found in the database that were played on some website. But other than that, no top-rated games reaching this position, so I feel it's okay that we call it a completely new game. So here, Ding castles, we have pawn to h3, and now pawn to g5. And what does Anish do? Well, he goes for a pawn sacrifice, for a piece sacrifice. Knight captures on g5, and it's a pretty standard move you would see in a Giuoco Pianissimo. If you remember, there was a very similar piece sacrifice. It's basically a piece for 2 pawns, so I don't really consider this a real sacrifice in the game Carlsen Karyak in their World Chess Championship match that also resulted in a draw. But here, okay, king to g7, you know that the knight on f6 will come under attack and the knight cannot move, so white definitely has compensation for the sacrificed piece. We have queen to f3, bishop to e6, and now knight to f1. The knight also wants to join the attack. If you can get something like knight g3, knight h5 check, it's basically game over, but you know that the rook will come to h8, so you will not be able to use the h5 square. So here instead, after rook to h8, knight to e3 by Anish, and now queen to e7, preparing to bring the other rook into the game. We have queenside castles by Anish, playing truly in the style of great attackers, and now comes rook a to g8, and this is a bit slow by Ding. Bishop captures on e3 was the way to go, because you do not want to allow this knight a particular move, but that's something that we are going to discuss a bit later. So rook a to g8, we have rook h to f1, now signaling that, okay, if bishop captures knight at any point, then f captures, maybe the f file opens up, or even if not, maybe I move the queen, maybe I play f4, open up the f file. This way the rook will be very useful on the f file. We have knight to b8 by Ding, and here this is the position that I talked about, and I've allowed the engine to crunch the numbers to really go hard at it to some depth of 50, and the engine finds a beautiful win here for white. But we are not going to discuss that because it's such a disgusting engine line. There is no way that anyone finds this. So let's just check out the game, and only after we check out the game will we return to this position. So pawn to d4, Anish opens up the position, as of course you want. You've sacrificed the material, you want to go for the black king. So here e captures on d4, c captures, and now knight b to d7 by Ding, and now pawn to e5. You would would probably expect to see pawn to d5 here because it kind of traps the bishop here. The problem is, look at this knight to e5 move. Attacks the knight, the queen attacks the bishop. Once you play something like queen captures on f6, okay, you want to trade queens now because there's no other way to do it. King captures, d captures on e6. You would have f captures on e6, and now after the bishop moves, there's the bishop captures on e3, and you would basically get this position where white is up a pawn, but it's a double d pawn, so nothing spectacular. Even if anyone is to be preferred here, it's probably black. So instead, Anish goes for pawn to e5, maybe an odd looking move because, okay, the e5 pawn is attacked twice, but the idea is that after black captures, Anish wants to play pawn to d5. So here Dean captures, pawn to d5 now, trapping the bishop here. There are no squares for this bishop, and now queen to b4. And this is where the game gets extremely complicated. Because here we have queen to e2, and this is a beautiful move by Anish. It's the only move that allows him to push for the win. Problem is, if you capture on e6, which is kind of what you want to do, then you can just eliminate the defender of the bishop on c4. Bishop captures with check, and the problem is everything comes with check. Queen captures on c4 comes with check after king b1. Queen captures on e6, removes the attacker of the knight on d7, and now you are perfectly fine. Of course, you are much better and winning even with black. So instead, queen to e2, the only move, and now Ding plays bishop captures on h3. He has to give up the bishop somehow, and this is how he decides to do it. And he was very low on time, so he didn't find the precise way to do it. Precise way would have been to trade on e3, and after f captures, play this beautiful bishop to g4 move. That was the only way for Ding to continue fighting here. Point now is that you will have to close up the g file, so the black king cannot get attacked. You will have to play something like bishop captures, knight captures, you will have to play h captures on g4, and now rook to h4, and black continues the game. So it's like that. But bishop captures on h3 was played by Ding, and now comes g captures on h3, opening up the g file. King to f8, trying to run away with the king, and yes, if Ding can get his king all the way to the queen side, then he should be fine. But that's a lot of moves with the king on an open board. Pawn to h4, defending the bishop. We have bishop to d4, and now Anish plays a beautiful, beautiful exchange sacrifice. So first he sacrifices a piece for the attack. Now he continues with a beautiful positional exchange sacrifice. Rook captures on d4. And yes, I know you guys know this because you follow the games live using strong engines. Bishop to b5 is the move that the engine wants you to play, but it's for a human, you don't find this in 20 moves or at all. I will show it. Okay, bishop to b5. Now the point is that black has no active moves. Let's say rook to h5. At some point black will have to give up a rook for this bishop because those rooks are absolutely useless. And now after, let's say, pawn to f4, pawn to c6, d captures, b captures. Now you're going to play f captures on e5, and after rook captures on g5, now you'll play h captures on g5, bishop captures on e3 with check, queen captures, and now let's say knight to g4 attacks the white queen here, but just queen to a7 now puts pressure on the knight. Rook to h2 threatening checkmate, and now look at this, queen to a8 with check, king to g7, rook captures on f7 with check, king captures, and the rook captures on d7 with check, and of course the black king now gets checkmated on the open board with something like king to e6, queen captures on c6 check, and so on. So that's one way to do it, but it's still unclear. Like after king to f5, where's the checkmate? Bishop to d3 check, king captures on g5, where's the checkmate? And black is still threatening queen captures on b2, so you're gonna have to play bishop to c2. And okay, of course, white will prevail here, but one slight misstep, and you're gonna be the one who gets checkmated. So okay, the engine sort of is screaming bishop to b5, but it's not like there's something to calculate. Unless you're an engine, you're not playing this. So rook captures on d4 is a human move, and it's a beautiful one at that. Anish plays it, e captures on d4, and now knight to f5, just taking away very important squares in front of the black king. Also, if the black queen moves from the control of the e7 square, it's just checkmate. So here rook captures on g5 because the rooks are non-existent here. Rook captures on g5, h captures, and now knight to e5, getting the knight into the attack, attacking the bishop here. Instead of knight e5, you could also consider knight to e4. It's a very tricky move. Point is that after bishop to d3, you play knight to c3, and after captures and captures, it looks like black is getting some tricky positions here. Let's say king to d1, Queen captures on a4 check, king to e1, queen to a1 check, queen to d1, and now queen to a3, you're going to block the pawn with bishop to c2, and now, for example, rook to h3. So white is winning here, but it's I mean, it's a very ugly position to have. So maybe not a terrible idea. But Ding went for knight to e5, and now finally comes bishop to b5. We have knight f to g4. Now Anish has some 11 minutes on the clock. Ding has 3 minutes on the clock, and just king to b1. You have 3 minutes on the clock. Ding, you decide what you want to do with them. I'm playing king to b1, getting out of all the nasty business, and there's no good way to continue. One way is to play d3, sort of to maybe give up the pawn to open up some lines of attack towards the white king, but it's really not doing anything. So king to g8 was played, and now, of course, the position is completely winning, and Anish finds it. Knight to h6 with check. And the point is, if you trade, then the g file opens up, but you don't really have an option of not trading, because the knight will hang, and then you're just going to lose both of the knights for this knight on h6. So here knight captures on h6 was played. Now first queen captures on e5. The knight on h6 still hanging. Knight to g4, and now queen captures on c7, with the threat of advancing the passed pawn, but also with the threat of just queen to c8 check, picking up the knight on g4. So there are too many threats here for Ding to handle. King to g7, now g6. Anish just completely obliterates the world classical champion. We have rook to f8. Also, if you just capture, I mean, you can't really do it. Just rook to g1, and if you play f5, then f3, again, just completely winning. So after g6, rook to f8 is played. We have queen captures on f7, d3 now. But rook to g1 attacks the knight. We have rook captures on f7, attacking the queen. And here you could win a whole lot of ways, like queen to e5 check is winning, because if king to f8, queen to h8 wins. If you go king to g8, then d6 just, there are no moves here for black. But Anish just played queen to c3 check, another beautiful human move that forces Ding to resign. And he was in this position on move 36 that Ding Liren resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The problem is the queens are coming off the board, and once the queens come off the board, let's say queen captures on c3, there's rook captures on g4 with check, and after king to f8, you're just going to pick up the queen, and now you're up a full bishop. So of course there's no playing this, an endgame being down a piece. So brilliant stuff by Anish, beautiful Italian game demonstration of how you can even without going for some, Evans Gambit or some two knights the defense, you could produce a masterpiece even against a world champion. So absolutely spectacular stuff here. And as promised, I will show you the line that we've discussed, where the win was missed. If you really allow the engines to crunch the numbers, up to maybe depth 50. Here, where Anish played the d4, there was the incredible knight to f5 check, forcing a trade because, okay, the queen would be lost, so captures now with the queen. And now how do you continue here? Knight b to d7, you need to get the knight into the game. Now rook d to e1 is what our good friend the engine suggests, and after Ding would start running away with the king. Now pawn to h4, adding a defensive resource here to the bishop. Pawn to c6, now pawn to f4. This is how the f file opens up, which is kind of what Anish prepared with that rook to f1 move. E captures on f4, only now pawn to d4, and after bishop to b8, as the point is there are no moves for black. The knights are terrible, the rook's non-existent, the bishop doesn't have a good diagonal, queen doing nothing. So it's basically a position where black has absolutely nothing. And now let's say bishop to b3, rook to g6, now king to b1. Those are all some very, very expensive engine moves. Rook h7, now rook captures on f4, rook h to g7, now rook to f3, and after queen to e8, now comes pawn to e5. D captures on e5, d captures on e5, and there's nothing. If the bishop moves, then you can pretty much play anything and it's winning. If you play bishop captures on e5, which of course you can, then just rook to e3. Now the bishop is being attacked 3 times, so after knight to d5, blocking the light square bishop, you will simply trade rook captures on e5, knight captures on e5, rook captures on e5, the rook will block, rook captures, queen captures, and now look at this spectacular win. Queen captures on e6, f captures on e6, and now finishing it with a beautiful bishop to h6. And you're probably thinking, okay, we'll just give back the exchange and the game continues. Nope, not happening, because you can't do it. If you move the king and you just trade here, let's say bishop captures on g7, king captures, white would capture the knight immediately, and after he captures on d5, g4, you're up a pawn in a king and pawn endgame. Of course, this is completely winning. And not only that, those are two connected pass pawns on the king side, nothing to discuss here. And the other point is that if you don't want to allow this, you have to play knight to f4 or knight to e3, threaten the g2 pawn and give up the full piece in order to end up with a rook against the bishop pair. But even this, even if you capture the pawn here, let's say bishop captures on e6, you're up a pawn, you have a bishop pair against the rook, absolutely winning. So nothing to discuss here. So it's a disgusting engine line, and I know how, you guys, some of you really like them, some of you don't, so that's why I decided to show it after the actual game. But yeah, it seems that there was a win here. Maybe not with the immediate d4, maybe if Ding played a perfect game, maybe he could have defended there, but with this knight to f5 check move. So really tricky stuff. Hope you enjoyed that as well. And yeah, beautifully done by Anish. We're going to probably check up one more game from this round, so then we're going to discuss the standings, but things are very, very exciting after 7 rounds of the Superbet Chess Classic. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very, very, very tough tournament for Ding, but I guess he's overly tired, as is Nepo after their grueling World Chess Championship match. But also Anish just played an absolute masterpiece here. So yeah, I would like to thank Lord of Bones, Masin Elsarag. Thank you for videos, Dr. Heisenberg, and the Ding fan for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful event until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.